We live in a time of endless possibility. More has been learned about the treatment of the human body in the last 5 years than was learned in the previous 500.
This is Geoff Berkshire for Variety. With Steven Soderbergh directing, shooting, and editing every episode, The Knick is about as close to an auteur project as TV gets. Soderbergh got an Emmy nomination for directing, but most of the show's nominations came from crafts categories: art direction, hairstyling, makeup, and prosthetic makeup. The Knick's special makeup effects designer, Justin Raleigh of Fractured FX, joined me in the Variety newsroom to talk about creating the show's shocking surgery scenes and about working with Soderbergh. Warning, a lot of the footage that follows is pretty gruesome.
Season 1 was, my first experience working with Steven, and probably by 3 or 4 weeks in, I kind of figured, all right, we have to make sure that everything is covered. With Steven, you never really know. He doesn't storyboard anything. He usually blocks the scene out and then figures out usually very complicated shots on the fly. We really had to step up our game and make sure everything looked as beautiful as possible.
The episode that you submitted is the season finale. Why did you choose to submit that one for consideration?
I felt like overall in that episode we had, one, the blood transfusion scene, which was a very dramatic scene. It had to function on camera, so, and it was just one piece, so we didn't have any insert elements. It was basically a sleeve that Clive Owen wore from mid-palm all the way up underneath his sleeve. You can extract the vein on camera. Once the vein is out, it actually has plumbing inside it, so it could pump and then connect to the other arm. And it was extremely complicated to get it to work, just to make sure that they were flowing to each other. It was a lot of functioning components for a very short, tight scene. The Knick is definitely an extreme challenge just because it has to work not just for camera. I mean, it has to really work like the real surgery. The trepanning sequence for brain surgery, we decided to actually create a prosthetic instead of doing a fake head or any type of insert element for it. So that's 100% prosthetic. He has a silicone prosthetic that goes basically from here all the way up and back. And underneath that, there's a small shell with the brain with a bladder that could actually pulse. All the hair on top of it is all hand punched into the piece. So it's not like a lace wig or anything like that. They could get super close and it just looked like it was growing out of his skin.
Well, Mrs. Alfred, let me take a look at you and see what remedies I can offer.
I originally had looked at doing something with Abigail.
And so Abigail is the woman who has syphilis, whose nose...
Yeah, she gets the skin graft.
How much of that was visual effects versus prosthetic?
The actual graft part, where she's actually attached to her arm, that's 100% prosthetic. But her actual removed nose is a combination of visual effects and my team.
I've heard there's different kind of blood that you can get depending on how it needs to look on camera.
We use about 3 or 4 different types of blood for the show. It depends on if it's going on fabric, if we need it to flow. Anything that goes on skin is a dark drying blood. Steven really likes very dark, rich colors. And it works with the palette too. I think 6 bloods initially before he approved a tone that he liked.
As you can see, there is significant blood in the cavity.
Everything on the show is medically accurate. It's pulled directly from surgical files. On season 1, we had actual surgeons come in. They actually just couldn't believe all the little fine details that we had put into it to make it as accurate as possible, down to small little vascular arteries and stuff you would never see on camera because it's covered with blood, but it's all there. We've put in all the anatomy.
Well, I imagine you wouldn't go into this field if you were easily grossed out, but is there anything that you've worked on that you found gross yourself?
It's all disgusting. I mean, doing the research, it's, at some point you're a little desensitized, so, you'll look at all these images and you just sort of turn it off and tune it out of that's a real human body that you're looking at. So if you didn't, you would take something home with you at night.
The fetus has migrated through the rupture, upward toward the abdomen.
We need to lengthen the incision and get the baby out now.
One of the first surgeries that we did was the first C-section. And that scene, we had so much blood. And I think everyone was pretty nauseous afterwards. And Steven just wanted us to keep going and going and going. He really wanted, true shock value. I think after that, everyone was a little desensitized though. I mean, they had seen so much of it. By episode 3, they were all like, whatever, it's fine.
You need a break? I can have someone else step in to help me finish.
No, I'm fine.